Hi everyone, hope everyone's well. We're back today for the market update on BTC. So BTC broke our previous ATH, so that's a good thing. We're continuing to climb. So the plan for today is to identify the highs and lows, so we did that straight away. So for long-term potential, what would be interesting is to take a look once there's a risk of a break in order to get going again. So if that ever happens, we've got all this liquidity waiting here, right? With the OTE zone here and the order flow not being passed on, right? We've done the same thing here before, and that's that we're right back in the zone I gave on my Discord. So if you ask me, the BTC, the last zone we were supposed to pass on was this one. So we came back right on cue, right? Since then, we've bounced back, made a nice V shape, and the goal was to go for the high, which we took, right? So now that we've taken the high, we could very well go back down to the bottom of the range, or even here. As long as we're in the range, we'll keep playing our range, okay? If we ever break the range upwards, the highest targets for BTC are here, around the OTE zone. But we can't forget that you're in a range and that when you're at the top of the range, you're potentially looking to short above the highs. Or if you're longer term, there's potentially nothing to short at the moment. You just have to hold, wait, because there are days when you're going to have dips like that, but most of the time it's going to be green days. And there are going to be some pretty steep days at times, but basically to remove all the big levers from the market and purge all that. So, for today, we're going to have a long setup here if we come back, right? If we come back here, it could be a very good setup. Why? Because first of all, you're in an area that's not refilled, so it's the last POI. Secondly, this POI is aligned with the 61.8. You've got quite a few things in there that coincide. Now, before you go back in there, you need to understand one thing, and that's that we're still in this range. So if we don't break the range, we could very well have another long, for example, at the bottom of the range. And how could we trigger this long? It could potentially be below this liquidity. Why would that be? Because below this liquidity, you're in this wick. And so in this wick, you could have the setup to go long again in your range. So you have two possibilities for going long. That is, as long as you're in the range, you'll need to return to this wick, and in this wick, you'll need a change of brand and structure to be able to start again. And if you break the range, the second possibility for long would be around 64,205.4 in the order flow, to try and catch the fuse like we had here, or like we had here, or like we had here. Every time, it's under liquidity, and if we break the range, as we did here, we're back in the order flow. So these are the two setups. These are the two setups I see for today. Be careful to this setup too, because it's a bit tricky, but for traders in particular, you need this type of setup too, reversed. In other words, you come and hit the top of the range, break it, then come back and test it again, you've got your entry, and then you come back and test the 50%, and then, potentially, the bottom of the range. It's not necessarily the bottom of the range, but you can do something like that. Let me draw you a little picture. We go up, we go down, we go higher, or we go up, we go down, and from there, we go higher, okay? Or we break and go to this area. But either way, you've got the three areas I'm interested in looking at for shorts and longs. And once again, if you have a short-term vision, you need these two options. If you have the longer-term view, you only need the ball view, i.e., where you're going to buy because your trend is up. And so, to maximize your chances of being right, we play the odds, and therefore, the trend direction. Okay, guys. So, no more to add today. Be careful, we're close to the high. We could have a deviation like we had previously here, okay? Which brought us right back here, and then retesting, and then before leaving again. So, if we have something like that, you know that your zone, the first zone for long, is here. In the event that you go long here, watch out afterwards for the TP, the high that will have created it, quite simply, or the top of the range, and normally that should do it. So, I'll let you know in the next market update. Next week, we'll see what it did, eventually. And then, if we haven't hit any of these setups, we'll see why next week, and we'll see where the next ones are, okay? But hey, I'm telling you, in 1 week, we're bound to do at least these two and maybe even this one. So we'll see. Right, guys? I wish you a good week, a good day, and happy trading.